All right. Welcome to the intermediate class today. So today we are, last week we were looking at the breath and we're going to continue looking at the breath today. So last week our focus was on the inhalation. So the expansive phase of the breath. And in that phase, I talked about how we kind of increase vitality by increasing a sense of spaciousness. When we feel stressed out, we tend to feel compressed and kind of locked down. And so that expansive inhale can help to give us a feeling that there's more space, that we're not so kind of tightly packed. Today, we're going to focus our attention a little bit more on the exhalation and the feeling of drawing in with the exhalation. So how the exhalation, the inhalation and exhalation obviously go together, right? One can't happen without the other. But the way that the exhalation kind of works on our nervous system is it works to calm us down and to bring a sense of ease. There's a feeling of letting go with the inhale, which can be wonderful. It can also be a little bit daunting, right? When we're holding on to things that we don't want to let go of. So there's a lot of energetic action with the exhale, that sort of letting go feeling. There's also physically where the inhalation, right? We have lungs and they live up in this area of the body. So when we inhale, primarily we're feeling some expansion here. We might also feel it down here in the belly as the diaphragm pushes down and there's a kind of expansion in the belly as well. On the exhale, we start the exhale by gently drawing in with the abdominal muscles, and that sort of helps to bring the diaphragm up and release and empty the lungs. So physically, the exhalation is more of the contracted state, which can help to tone the abdominal muscles. The thing about toning any muscle is that it needs to be relaxed as well as contracted to become stronger. So I know that many of us have this mistaken idea that if we hold the stomach muscles tighter, that the stomach will actually get stronger, but it gets weaker if we don't release and contract, release and contract, right? If you're trying to strengthen your biceps, you don't just hold, right? You draw in, you release. So there's a contraction and a release of the muscles. Same is true with the abdominal muscles. And the breath is actually just a perfect way of practicing that. So we can relax the belly on the inhale, we can draw in and use the core a little bit more on the exhale. And there's certain postures that really benefit from this exhale contraction that gives us more space, right? If you think about coming into child's pose as you're breathing in, your belly is getting bigger and you're trying to compress and it makes it more challenging. So we're going to work with all of that, but we're going to start with a breath technique that it's a yoga technique, a buzzing or a humming breath, but it's also a technique that's been studied in scientifically recently and introduced, as far as I know, through Peter Levine, who does a lot of work on the nervous system and trauma and sort of clearing trauma and bringing the nervous system back to a settled place. And in his findings, this breath where we make a humming sound has an impact on the vagus nerve. Without getting too technical, the vagus nerve runs from the brain and it moves into various parts of the body and takes information back to the brain about kind of how we're doing. And this humming breath kind of tones the vagus nerve and it brings more softening and relaxation to the system. So we're going to start with the humming breath and go from there. So be comfortable. We're going to start seated. You can sit on a chair, you can sit on the floor, whatever is comfortable for you, and we'll begin there. So I'll meet you there. So generally, if you are sitting on the floor, most people find that sitting with the hips a little bit higher on a cushion or a folded blanket can be helpful. So just make sure that you've got what you need to be comfortable. Take your time. So the breath is very simple. So the inhale is normal. You Breathe in through your nose as long as you're able to breathe in through your nose, and you're breathing out through your nose. And when you breathe out, you're making just a gentle humming sound. Now, if you're in a space where you don't feel comfortable making sound, you can just do the breath normally, just breathing in and breathing out, paying attention to your breath. If you feel comfortable making the humming sound, it can be quite quiet, or it can be a little bit louder, so whatever works for you. So spend a couple of minutes just inhaling normally, exhaling, humming. And then let go of the humming and just breathe normally for a few breaths. And just notice if you can feel any effects of the humming breath, and you may or may not, so there's no right or wrong. Just tuning in and noticing what's present for you right now. We're going to work with the seated cat-cow movement and with a really particular focus on the breath. And as always, if when I'm introducing any kind of focus on the breath, if you start to feel any kind of panic or discomfort, just let go of the technique. Just you can do the movement and breathe normally. My apologies for the interruption there. Just make sure that we have it. So our breath awareness here is on your inhale. I want you to really focus on this area of the rib cage where your lungs actually reside. Doesn't matter if your belly expands as well, that's totally fine. But our focus is on this whole upper area of the torso on the inhale. So we're going to actually make some space by taking the elbows out a little. Inhale, shoulders back. And feel like your whole rib cage is expanding. And then when you exhale, gently draw in all around your abdomen. So think about you've got a point in the middle and you're drawing in from the sides, from the front, and even a little bit from the back as you exhale and round. So inhaling, opening the space, breathing into the whole rib cage. Exhale, drawing in from the belly, even drawing up a little on the pelvic floor if that feels comfortable for you. And then you're going to relax the belly, relax the pelvic floor. Open the heart, Exhale and gently, gently is key. You're squeezing in. So a few more like that. Just finding the expression of this movement that feels right for you. And then for the last few rounds here, if it feels right for you, you can hold your breath out for a count of maybe 2 seconds, 1 or 2 seconds, just enough to feel that emptiness. Inhale normally with that arched back. Exhale and maybe hold 1 or 2 seconds after your exhale. Maybe 2 more breaths like that. Okay, and then let's come back to a neutral spine. Just let your shoulders relax. Take a moment to notice what you're aware of now after that movement. What do you feel in your belly? What do you feel in your chest? What do you feel in the back of your body? And remember, if you feel nothing, that's a legitimate answer. If you feel numb, that's also a legitimate answer. There's no right or wrong here. So for the next one, we're going to use the breath and the abdominal muscles again. Same kind of idea of expansion on the inhale and a gentle drawing in on the exhale. And again, really gentle. This time you can bring your hands up to your shoulders. We're going to move in a twist movement. The elbows can be a little lower than the shoulders, so you're not bringing tension. We'll take a breath in here. Feel that lift and expansion of the rib cage, and then use your abdominal muscles, your core, to turn you one direction. And then inhale, expand, relax. Exhale, gently draw in all the way through your core. Inhale, center. You can move as slowly as feels good for you. And if you're really feeling it, it feels really good, you can hold for 1 or 2 seconds after each exhale. Okay, and coming back to the center, releasing. Before we switch positions, let's do a few movements for the wrists just to warm them up before we come to all fours. So you can circle the wrists one way and the other. You can try it with your hands open or with your hands in fists. See how that changes the stretch, the feeling of movement in your wrists and hands. You can also give a little stretch to the forearm and the wrist and the hand by taking the palm up and gently drawing down with the fingers, one hand and then the other hand. And then very gently taking the hand the other way. You can even give a little squeeze across the bases of your fingers, across the knuckles, just a little squeeze to wake up the hands. And then releasing the other hand, maybe give it a little squeeze and give it a shake. So we'll come over onto hands and knees. Use a blanket under your knees if you need extra padding, and you can support the wrists if you like by rolling up the end of your mat a bit, if that helps. So we'll come back to this idea of expansion through the thoracic area, the rib cage, contraction in the belly as we breathe with cat-cow again. So soft elbows, bringing the chest forward, breathing in. And then as you exhale, draw your belly up and round, and you can move back to child's pose here. So inhale, soft elbows, heart comes forward. Breathing into the space around the rib cage. Exhale, gently drawing the belly back toward the spine, drawing in from the sides. And it happens naturally. You don't have to do a lot here. With this movement, that breath pattern is natural movement. So just following the movement, following the breath, and seeing what happens for you. Okay, coming back to all fours, we're going to keep working on this idea of working with the expansion and contraction with the breath, this time by taking one leg, reaching it up behind you, around parallel to the ground. It could be a little higher if that's comfortable for you. You'll soften and breathe in, feel expansion in the heart, and then exhale, squeezing in as you bring your knee toward your nose. Inhale, reaching out, exhale, squeezing in, using your breath to help bring your knee as close to your nose as possible. And then next time the knee is toward the nose, you can stay for a breath. Feeling the contraction that has to happen for that action, and then releasing that leg down. Let's come to child's pose for a moment, just to take the weight off the wrist and to tune into the breath as it is. You can place the hands under the head if you like, or on the ground, or the head could be on the ground. Just notice the expansion and softening of your breath in child's pose. Feeling where the breath moves. Nowhere in particular that you need to or should feel the breath. Just noticing where it is. And then as you exhale, softening, sinking down. And then we'll come back to all fours when you're ready. And we'll work with the same action on the other side. So other leg reaching up, lifting the heart, expanding around the rib cage. Exhale, drawing in around your middle, around your core. Knee coming towards your nose, and then extending. So I invite you to follow your own breath rhythm now as you continue this movement. Last time, if it feels good for you, you can stay for a few breaths with that knee in toward the nose. And then releasing the knee down. Coming back to both knees down, chest forward, breathing in. And then exhale, use your abdominal muscles, drawing the belly toward the spine, and then coming to child's pose. Let's repeat that movement again a few times. Inhale, expanding, exhale, rounding on your bed. Oh. You can stay with this movement, or if you're feeling ready for downward dog, you can come to all fours on an inhale, tuck your toes under, use your belly. So imagine this contraction of the belly is lifting you up. Keep your knees soft, head comes down. You can take a few breaths here, maybe walking your feet in place. And then again, coming back down, all fours. Expanding with your inhale, rounding, contracting, and drawing back to child's pose for a few breaths on your exhale. Whatever version suits you, you'll take a few more breaths here, feeling to the back of your body. Feeling the breath moving and noticing what's present. Try. Eventually coming back up to all fours. And same thing, we'll move into downward dog. So breathing in, finding that lift, exhale, rounding and using the contraction to lift your body up into downward dog. Again, you can walk on the squat, and this time you might walk your feet towards your hands. See how far you can get. If you get stuck part way, you can always bring your hands back towards your feet. You can come up onto your fingertips. Whatever you need to do to bring your feet and hands towards each other on your mat. Knees soft, let your body hang here for a few breaths. Great, and then when you're ready, again, with knees soft, arms heavy, head hanging down, you can slowly uncurl to come upright. So as you come to stand, you can bring the feet a little bit apart, and we'll work a bit with the hips. So bringing the hands to the hips, can make some gentle circles. And I really encourage you to move slowly and notice. Where do you feel sensation? Does it feel different from one side to the other? What are you aware of? Are you breathing as you move? So after you've gone one way a few times, slowly reverse, go the other way a few times. Okay, and coming back to center. So if you can stay a little bit wider apart, and we'll work with the shoulders. So first lifting the shoulders, breathing in, and then exhale, relaxing the shoulders down. So breathe in. Feel how that lifting of the shoulders creates a lift in the rib cage. Exhale and soften. Inhale, lift. Exhale, soften. One more. Right. Then you can roll the shoulders, maybe alternating or together. You can go backwards or forward, just really tuning into what feels good for you. Going one way and the other. And then come back to the center and bring your feet so they're underneath your hips now in Tadasana. So we'll do a little bit of a sequence where we lift the arms on the inhale and feel that great expansion. Exhale, you're going to come onto the toes of one foot and maybe lift the leg, bring it in towards the body, and then bring that foot down, reach up with the breath in, and then exhale other side. So you could leave your toes on the ground if you need to. You can lift the knee up. You can bring it right in if that's available to you. So again, coordinating with the breath as long as that's comfortable for you. Inhale up, exhale in. Inhale up, exhale in. Use your core and your hip flexors to lift the leg. You're doing it anyway if you're doing this movement, but feel that the breath supports that gentle contraction and drawing in of each leg. Right, this time as you bring the knee in, you can stay for a few breaths. If you are able, you can hook your hands and interlace them over your knee or hold behind your thigh. Keep your body upright. Try not to lean back here, but keep your body over the standing leg. You can bring the bent knee in as much as you like. And then really working to feel strong in your core. See if you can let go of the leg. Stay upright with your upper body and breathe. If you really want to work harder here, take the leg and stretch it straight out. Good, let's slowly lower. Come back to stand for a moment. Be aware, notice what you feel on both sides of your body. Is there a difference? And then we'll go to the other side. So you can inhale and lift. Exhale, come in. You can bring that knee in a little or a lot. Use your core to help you to stay upright. So it's easier if we kind of hold the legs, straighten the arms, lean back, and we don't have to use the core. It's harder to balance there, I find. But if we use the core, draw the belly in, knee up, staying upright over your leg, it's a very strong, powerful position. Great. If you like, you can release the arms, keep the knee up. And again, if you really want to work harder, stretch the leg out. Try to stay upright. So it's easy to lean back and stretch the leg out. Can you stay over your standing leg with your other leg out, either bent or straight, and then slowly lower. Back to Tadasana. Notice, what do you feel? Hip flexors, abdominal area. What are you aware of? Feel your legs, feel your heels, go down into the earth. Upper body light and lifted. So from here, we'll come into tree pose. So we can bring the knee back up, bring the knee in. And then you're either going to reach down for your ankle and place the foot on your thigh, or you can lower the foot to your calf. You want to avoid pressing against your knee. So either position. And then the knee that's up is moving back. The arms can come into your heart, out to your sides, or if you prefer, overhead. So sending roots down into your standing leg, lengthening up, feeling your rib cage, lifting up away from the hips, and breathe. Feel a little expansion around your heart as you inhale. And drawing in, stabilizing with your exhale. When you're ready to release, you let the arms go. You can reach down and unhook your leg and place your foot down. Just give both legs a little shake. And then we'll come into tree on the other side. So you bring the knee up, find your balance. Either reach down for your foot and place the sole of your foot against the inner thigh, or you can let it come lower onto the calf. Sometimes people find their foot slips down their leg. If you have slipper yoga pants, that might be the case for you. Think about pressing into the leg with the bent knee and pressing into the foot with a straight leg to try to keep your foot from slipping. And then find the arm position that you prefer. Think about the bent knee moving back, heart lifting, shoulders relaxed, and breathing. If you lose your balance, that's fine. Just come back into the pose. Breathing in, heart opening, expanding. Exhale, draw in toward the core. Feel strong and supported by your breath. When you're ready to release, arms come down. You can reach down and release your foot. And come back to mountain pose. Inhaling, lifting the arms. We'll come into a forward bend now. Soften your knees, reach down toward the ground as you exhale, head releasing. Inhale and come up. So repeat this a few times at your own pace. If you want, you can stay in the forward bend for a few breaths this time around. So you can place your hands or elbows on your thighs if you like, or let your arms hang down, soften your knees, let your chest come toward your thighs. You can hold your arms, whatever version of the forward bend works for you. So staying there for a few breaths. When you're ready to come up, we'll release the arms to the sides and lift up with a long, strong back all the way up, and exhale, coming down to your sides. So I think I mentioned that if you have blocks, they may be handy for you. If you don't have them, that's fine. You can modify as you need to. So if you're using blocks, you can bring them towards the front of your mat. We're going to work a little bit with downward dog. So take as many breaks as you need to if your wrists are feeling at all strained in downward dog. We'll come to knees at certain times and relax, but do take whatever breaks you need to, okay? So the blocks just make it a little easier to stay in downward dog. There's a little bit less pressure on the hands, and it's also gonna make one of the other moves a little easier too. So I'm gonna start up by your blocks. Find that grounded feeling of heels dropping down, heart lifting, shoulders a little bit down and back. Tune into your breath. Feel this lift and expansion around the heart as you inhale. And then a gentle, energetic drawing in around the core as you exhale. And then with that same breath awareness, inhale, lift the arms. Exhale, bend your knees, soften and come forward. Bring your hands to the ground or to your blocks. And we're going to step back to downward dog. So you can find your way there, one foot then the other. If you don't like the blocks, just leave them be. If you like them, great. Okay, so from here, we're going to raise one leg. And then bring that knee in close to the chest. And let the weight come a little forward towards your hands, knee to nose, or thereabouts. Rock back, reach back, come a little forward. Exhale strongly, knee toward nose. Try that a few times. And then stay for a couple of breaths. And then when you're ready, step back to downward dog. Let's come down, take a break for a moment before we do the other side. So if you like, you can come into child's pose. Find child's pose is a great position to be in to really feel the breath expanding in the back of the body. So you can bring that awareness to your child's pose if you like. And then whenever you're ready, we'll come back into downward dog and work with the other leg with that extension and flexion in downward dog. So when you're ready, you lift back up to downward dog. You want to keep that standing leg bent. Whichever one stays on the ground, the other leg lifts up. You're breathing in. Exhale. Knee to nose. Toward nose. Inhale, stretch back. Exhale. Knee in. You can stay for a couple of breaths. And then when you're ready, stepping back to downward dog. Lower your knees. Inhale, find a little lift in the heart. Exhale, moving back to child's pose. Let the weight come off your wrist. Take a few breaths in whatever version of child's pose you like. Again, bringing your awareness back to the breath, a feeling of expansion, contraction, that wave-like movement of the breath moving into the back of your body. So just tune into whatever you notice here for a few more breaths. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about this action of stepping forward from downward dog. So when you're ready, you can come up to sit on your heels as long as that's comfortable for your ankles and your knees. We're just gonna do a little test of proportion, right? So from sitting on your knees, nice, long, tall body, take your hands as if you were gonna bring them to the ground and notice, do they come to the ground? Are they near the ground? Are they nowhere near the ground? If I bring my blocks back, that is about the right distance for me. That's about where my arms end. So believe it or not, some people can sit on, and maybe that's the case for you. If your torso is short, your arms are long, you might actually be able to get your hands flat on the ground here. You might be way up here somewhere, 8 inches off the ground. So just take note of that. There's not a right or wrong way to be here, just noticing, because all of these things are going to come into play when we try to step forward from downward dog into lunge. So the length of your arms is a big deal, right? If your arms are short, you're going to have a hard time stepping your foot through. If you've got belly, we all have belly, but depending on how much belly is there, getting your leg in close, and you probably already noticed this when we were on all fours, bringing the knee in, there's a point where it won't go any further because your belly is hitting your thigh, right? So that might be a factor for you. If you happen to be breathing in as you're bringing your knee in, your belly is bigger, so it's harder, right? So lots of different factors. And this is a move that so many people find challenging. So if you find it challenging, and if you've never been able to do it, and you don't do it today, know that it is okay. This could very well have to do with your arm length, your leg length, how much movement is in this hip, the bones in your hip, where your femur meets your pelvis, right? If your femur meets your pelvis somewhere here, it's going to be different than if you can get right in. Are you able to bring your chest right to your thigh? That's going to make a difference as well, right? So it doesn't mean that you're not flexible enough necessarily. It might just be that your proportions aren't quite suited to this movement. So that's where blocks really come in handy, right? So I noticed sitting here that if I had blocks under my hands, I had a lot more space, right? I could reach the ground with the blocks. So blocks are your friend if you have them. If not, then we will make do and give lots of options here. So let's come back up into downward dog. Now, a lot of people find that taking the leg back first helps because you get a little momentum swinging it through. Just as we did before, you're going to inhale as the leg comes up. You want to deeply exhale, let the weight come a little forward, push into your arms so your upper back kind of lifts, gives you more space, and see how far you get. Right? So I'm about 8 inches from my hand. Try again, reach up, breathe in, exhale. Oh, if I kind of lift off my back foot a little, I get about 3 inches from my hand. So you can try that, reach up. And as I go, I'm sort of springing my back leg. And if you notice, I lifted my fingers onto my fingertips on that side, and suddenly my foot is right there between my hands. That may or may not happen for you. Blocks make it easier. You can try if you've got them. Reach up. So you're exhaling, lifting and springing a little. Lifting, pressing into the arms. So pause for a moment. If you come to all fours, you can kind of sink into your shoulders, or you can push into your arms. Right? So when you sink into your shoulders, your belly and chest come closer to the ground, there's less space. When you press into your arms around your back, exhale, you've got maximum amount of space. Let's try the other leg if you haven't already, either with or without blocks. You're lifting. Want to keep a little bend in the standing leg, that gives you that spring. Reach up, breathe in. As you exhale, try just as it is. So I'm a good foot or more without doing much to help myself. I'm going to reach back again. Exhale, press into my arms. I get a little closer. Reach back again. I'm going to spring off the back foot. And I'm almost up to my hands now. And then step back. Let's come down to all fours. You can take a breath and maybe come to child's pose again. I just like to really make sure the wrists are happy here. We're doing a lot on the wrists today. So in child's pose, or if you want to come to kneeling, you can do a little movement for the wrists, just making sure that you're giving them lots of love in between. Right, so let's try that sequence. We'll step forward, we'll step back with each foot a few times, just finding that rhythm. Know that if this is challenging for you, you are not alone. It is challenging. So remember, the exhale is key here. Using your exhale, pulling your belly back, making as much space as possible to pull that leg in toward your chest to get yourself forward. The other piece is pressing into the arms, really widening the upper back, making your arms longer, right? If I don't round my upper back and press, then my arms are a lot shorter. So you're using the breath, you can use that little bit of a leg swing to come through. And then if you just don't get there, right? Say you come, you've done all of those things and your foot constantly gets stuck here. Fine, no problem, right? Then we can lower the back leg, we can lift up a little more, walk that foot forward. Some people will even come right up, take the foot forward. And I've also seen this kind of thing, bringing the knee down and lifting the leg to bring it forward. So whatever works for you at the end of the day to get your leg forward is totally fine. So let's see what we can do. And I wish so much I could see you, because often I can give you little pointers that might help. So just really tuning in, lifting the leg, finding that little bit of arch, and then exhale, rounding, pressing into your arms, lifting up, swinging through, and finding where your foot moves to. Step back, try the other side. Right? I find my foot really gets in the way, so if you can flex your foot a lot as you come through, then you can get your toes out of the way. I mean, there's all sorts of little tricks. So wherever you're at, once you've got one foot forward, let's bring the other foot forward. Let the head release for a few breaths. And then when you're ready, coming all the way up, breathing in. And exhaling to release. Take some time here. Do some movements for your wrists. We are going to put this all together in a sun salutation so you can get that action in motion with the sun salutation. Just really making sure that you are comfortable with your wrists and arms. You give them a shake. Right. So you can use your blocks or not for the sun salutation. I'm going to move mine out of the way. For the most part, I don't need them to step forward. And I would recommend that if you are using them to step forward, to only bring them in when you need them. So when you go forward, to not use the blocks, because they kind of get in the way. So let's come near the front of the mat somewhere so you've got room to step back. Sink down into your heels. Find a lift in your heart. Shoulders relaxed and down. Shoulder blades moving slightly in and down your back. Tune into your breath. Feel the sense of lifting and expansion of spaciousness on your inhale. And a gentle contraction and grounding on your exhale. With your next inhale, let the arms float up overhead. Soften your knees as you exhale and come forward. Inhale, lengthen your spine, hands to shins, coming halfway up, and then exhale to release. If I'm breathing too slowly or too quickly, modify your breath to suit yourself. Take extra breaths anytime. Let's step back with the right foot now to come into lunge. And in lunge, you have the option. You can keep your hands on the ground, or you may want to lift your hands up onto your front knee. We were working with the front of the hip before, lifting the leg in front and really contracting these hip flexors. So now let's take the opportunity to lift the arm up on the same side of the leg that's back, breathing in, and then exhale, come forward over your thigh. Inhale, lifting just that one arm, breathing in, exhale, coming over the thigh. And we'll do one more. If you like, you can stay for a breath or two here, really extending that line from your back heel to your fingertips. Great, and then we'll bring that hand down, bring the other hand to the ground, step back to downward dog. Soften your knees, lengthen your spine, press into your arms. And then lower the knees down to the mat or ground. Inhale, heart forward, shoulders back. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, you're coming back up to all fours. Exhale, downward dog. Sorry, if you were using blocks, before you come into downward dog would be the time to bring your blocks under your hands. You could do that now. And then to downward dog. So our right leg is going to step forward. You can take it up. Take a breath in and find that long, long line from your fingers to your foot. Exhale, draw the belly up. Press into your arms. Swing forward as you push off the back foot to get your foot close to your hands or wherever it goes. From here, you can stay in the low lunge if that's better for you. You can bring your hands up onto your knee if that's okay. And if you want more, we'll inhale and lift the left arm. Same arm as the leg that's back. Exhale over the front thigh. Inhale, lift. You can use this hand on your thigh. Press against your thigh to help lift you up. Exhale forward. Great, last one, you can stay for a few breaths if you're comfortable there. And then we'll bring the hands down. And again, that same spring forward. So you're gonna bend the back knee, come onto your toes, and spring forward. Head down. Inhale, hands to shins, lengthening. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift all the way up. Exhaling to release. Pause here. Tune in. Notice what you feel in your body. Notice your breath. So your breath and your heart rate might have increased a little bit with the sun salutation. Let's just come back to a nice, easeful breath, and we'll do one more sun salutation so that we've done both sides stepping forward in the context of sun salutation. So again, when you're ready, inhale, lift the arms, find a lift in the heart, soften your knees, sweep your arms to the sides as you come forward, let your head come down. Inhale, half forward bend. Exhale, releasing. This time the left leg will step back. We'll pause here and lunge to just be for a moment. There's nothing particular in action that we want to do, except maybe draw the right hip back, the Left hip forward a little bit to really stabilize the core of the pose. And then from here, we'll step back to downward dog. For downward dog, come down onto all fours. Breathing in, chest forward, expanding around the heart, exhaling, child's pose. We'll take a couple of breaths in child's pose. When you're ready, you'll come back up to all fours. Coming into downward dog. So keeping the knees a little bit soft and bent. You'll lift the left leg up. Breathe in, find a little arch so that you can kind of spring back against that arch. So inhale, expanding. Exhale, bringing the knee close to the body, lifting high up onto the toes, and getting the foot as close to your hands as possible. And then stepping the back foot forward, head down. Inhale, hands to shins, lengthening. Exhale, release to fold forward, let your head go. And then inhale and come all the way up. And exhaling to release. Let's again pause here in mountain pose. Feel your arms and hands, your shoulders. Feel your rib cage and your belly, your pelvis and legs. Feel your feet on the ground and the crown of your head reaching up. So simply notice for another couple of breaths, whatever sensations are present for you here. And then we're going to make our way back down to the earth, actually coming onto our backs this time. So take your time. You can come right to lie down on your back, knees bent, hands resting on your body, one to somewhere on your rib cage. It could be lower rib cage or up around the heart, and one hand on the belly. Try to have your elbows on the ground, so there's really no effort here. And no particular way to breathe, no particular focus on the breath. I invite you to simply notice that you're breathing. Feel how the breath moves under your hands in whatever pattern happens naturally. You might feel more movement in one area. You might feel no movement in one area. You might feel a lot of movement or just a little. The invitation is to simply breathe and notice that you're breathing. Notice the movement. And then let your arms come down to the sides of your body. You can bring your heels in so that they're underneath your knees. And we'll work with bridge pose. So we did a lot today to contract the front of the body, the core, the hip flexors, a little bit to open that area. We'll do a little bit more now to open the front of the body to bring back balance. So let's start by taking a breath in here. As you exhale, press your feet down towards the ground. Feel your lower back lengthen. And then as you inhale, start to lift your arms and lift your hips, bringing the arms behind you as the hips come up toward the ceiling. And then as you exhale, you can lower the arms back down as you also lower your hips down. If you find it more comfortable to bend the elbows and move them more to the sides, that is also an option. or straight overhead if that feels good for you. Next time you come down, you can stay there. If you feel you need to bring your knees into the chest to lengthen out your back a little bit, you can do that. Otherwise, we're going to move into a gentle twist. So only moving on your twist when you exhale, staying when you inhale. That just brings a little more awareness to the breath and the feeling of expansion and release. So take a breath in the center. As you exhale, knees go one way. You can turn your head the other way. Once you get there and you're finished your exhale, you'll stay and inhale. And then as you exhale, you'll come back to center. You'll stay there as you inhale. Exhale to the other side. So it slows it down, takes 2 breaths to do each movement. Brings lots more attention to the breath. So a few more rounds like that. Go at your own pace. If your breath is slower or faster than mine, please follow your own breath. You can continue with the twist a little longer if you're enjoying the twist. Whenever you feel complete with that twist, you'll come back to the center. When you come back to the center, bring both knees to your chest, one hand on each knee, and you'll exhale the knees towards you and inhale the knees away. Now, if it makes sense for you, you can imagine the breath starts the movement. So as you exhale, the belly starts to move back toward the spine and the legs naturally drawing toward the body. As you inhale, the breath expands. It takes up that space around the belly and the chest. Start to push the legs away and the legs follow. Exhale, and then the legs follow. Start your inhale. The legs follow. If you need extra breaths, take them as you exhale. Knees follow. And then any other movement that you like. So we'll be moving soon into Shavasana. So if there's other movements that you feel would help to release your back or your hips or anything else before we come to stillness for a few minutes, take your time, explore what would feel good. And then let's bring the feet back to the ground. Before we move into Shavasana, we'll bring the hands back to the body. And now we're going to bring the attention back to the breath and back to where we started today with that humming breath. So you can do this lying down just as easily as sitting. So you take a breath in. And repeat several times. Continue at your own breath rhythm a few more rounds. Feel where the sound resonates in your body, in your head, your face, your neck, your shoulders, torso, wherever you feel resonance in the last few breaths, just notice that. Excuse me. So then you can let the sound go slowly, release it, and come back to normal breath. And I invite you to find a comfortable position for Shavasana. So that could be continuing to lie down. It could be coming back to a seated position. Whatever works for you. You can keep the hands on the body, you can move them away, you can keep your knees bent, you can stretch them out. It is pretty chilly today, so make sure you're warming up. After sun salutation, sometimes the body warms up, but when we relax, it cools down again. So make sure if you need a blanket or a sweater that you've got that so that you can be cozy. So letting go of all sounds and all control of the breath now, just let the breath be. And if it feels comfortable for you, I invite you to use the breath as a focus for your mind as we move into Shavasana. So there's nothing you need to do with the breath in particular, but simply notice the breath as it is. You're noticing the inhale, you're noticing the exhale. If it helps you to stay focused, you could even say to yourself, I'm inhaling, I'm exhaling. Paying attention to the inhale, paying attention to the exhale. Your mind will very likely wander away, which is normal and kind of the point of the exercise. So that every time your mind wanders, the practice is in noticing that you've wandered and gently, kindly, and firmly bringing your attention back to your breath. As you exhale, feel your body soften and sink down. Let your mind stay connected to your breath in whatever way feels appropriate for you. With each exhalation, a little more softening the face and jaw. Exhaling, softening the arms and hands. Exhaling the shoulders, rib cage, soften and release. Exhaling the lower back, the belly, the sides of the waist, soften and release. Let the inhale come naturally, the exhale go naturally. With each exhalation, softening a little more. Softening all around the pelvis, the thighs. Relaxing your knees, your calves, ankles. Softening your feet right to your toes. Staying connected to the breath, noticing the breath, softening with each exhalation. Bringing your awareness back to the breath every time you notice that it's somewhere else. We bring our attention to our bodies, to our breath. It's a way of tuning into what's happening in this moment. It's a way of bringing in mindfulness to the practice. It can also give us lots of information about how we're doing in each moment, how we're feeling with our bodies, how we're feeling in our breath. So I invite you now to simply notice that you're breathing. Bring your awareness back to the breath whenever you notice that it's wandered. I'll share with you the chant that I shared last week that honors the body and all its sensations, the breath, all of its permutations. It reminds us that when we bring mindfulness to our practice, when we allow our body and breath to be as it is without forcing it, we come to a place where we shine our inner light even more brightly. We let go of some of the stress and tension that keeps us back from knowing that deep, bright inner light. If your light feels dull or non-existent today, just keep breathing. Keep bringing your focus back to your breath every time it wanders. Annamaya me Shruthyantam Jyotiraham Virajavipapma Bhuya Sakasvaha Om Pranamaya me Shudhyantam Jyotiraham Virajavipapma Bhuya Sakasvaha Notice where your attention is now. Draw it back to the breath if it's wandered away. And allow your breath to gradually and naturally deepen now. So not forcing or straining, just allowing the breath to fill you comfortably. Release as fully as possible. If you want to spend a little more time with Shavasana, please feel free to do that. If you're ready to bring in some movement, you can wiggle your fingers and toes, maybe circle ankles and wrists, and just start to move in any way that would feel good, any way that would support your body right now. If you're lying down and you're ready to come back to a seated position, you can roll to your side and take your time to come back upright. The breath has many different ways to use it. Today we looked at the expansiveness of the inhale, our focus from last week, as well as that drawing in a little bit of core work with the exhale and how that can give us a little more feeling of space as well. We also looked at the humming breath, the breath that tones the vagus nerve and creates a softening or a releasing in the nervous system, brings us back to a place of ease when we're stressed. Or it has that potential. Doesn't mean that that will be the outcome, but it has that potential. So as you go into your week, I invite you to use your breath in ways that support you. When you feel the need for more space and expansion, put more focus on your inhale. When you feel the need for more inward focus, more softening and relaxing, you can use the exhale. And when you're feeling stressed, try the humming breath for a few minutes and see how that lands for your nervous system. Bringing the palms together. Taking a nice easeful breath, exhaling completely. Coming into gratitude for your practice, for showing up today. Gratitude to yourself, gratitude to your breath that breathes life into you every moment. And gratitude for this community that allows these classes to happen, allows us to come together. Namaste.